Okay, well, everybody, welcome to the planning board meeting of Tuesday, October the 19th.
August.
What did I say?
October.
August the 19th. Opening the meeting at 7:02 p.m. Do I have a second on starting the meeting at 7:01? 2.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. A roll call vote. Steph Harrison.
Aye.
Rob Wolf.
Aye.
Brett.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. So for the agenda this evening, we have a hearing to discuss an A&R, and the A&R is so let me just read this. It's an update of the A&R approval not required, Form A application, and amend the Planning Board Regulation 380 Part 2, Article 2 procedure for submission of planning not required approval under submission, the subdivision of control law. A planning board regulation to include a 380 Part 5 stormwater management section. We have an A&R 65 Farm Road. We have a Mill Farm parking lot to discuss. We have a review of warrant articles, ADU updates, miscellaneous items for the from the 2025 ATM annual town meeting, and time permitting, signed bylaw. Other business reports on meetings with other boards and entities, and town planner report. So are there any other items not anticipated by the chair within the last 48 hours after what I've just finished reading?
Just add meeting minutes. Got to put that on there. Okay.
Right. Sorry, that was the first thing on there, is meeting minutes, and I didn't even say that. So yes, and that was not that is something that was already on the agenda, so it was not unanticipated. So hearing none, and having read the agenda, I'd like to vote to accept the agenda as read. Do I have a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor: Steph Harrison.
Aye.
Rob Wolf.
Aye.
Brett Piercy.
Aye.
Jim Guarino.
Aye.
And I, Frank Hookham, I as well. So has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes for July the 15th?
Yes.
Did anybody have any comments, corrections, edits, changes, anything that they wanted to add, subtract from these minutes? Hearing none, I didn't have any other.
I have one typo correction on the last page. Milborn was spelled B-O-U-R-N. So I'll have to change that to B-O-R-N for Milborn Farm.
Okay, good catch. So I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended. Do I have a second?
Second. Aye.
Give me my man. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor: Steph.
Aye.
Brett.
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. So we have the hearing. The first hearing is to start at 7:15, being that the time is 7:06. Is there, Heidi, anything that you would prefer that we should go to first?
Yes, I think the A&R for 65 Farm Road, which is a very routine minor adjustment from the last A&R that we did.
Okay.
I don't know if Steph wants to bring up the proposed plan. There are two small lot line changes. There's no other change in frontage. That those lot lines lead to a small acreage adjustment, but it does not affect our acreage needed or frontage needed. Bob is on the call if there are any questions, but I
Yeah,
think
and
this
if I
is a
could
very,
just, Heidi, can I just take 10 seconds?
sure.
I just want to apologize. I just made a really stupid Scrivener's error when I sent the the plan that the engineer did for me to the surveyor to, create it into an A&R. There was some slippage on the order of 110 or 115 square feet in that process. And when it came back, I didn't check it for one of the regulatory requirements, not for zoning purposes, but for Board of Health purposes. The lot needed to be greater than 50,000 square feet, and and I came to you and I did the A&R, and it was at 49,889 square feet. So it was just a really stupid mistake by me not to check that slippage between the engineer and the A&R, but I've learned my lesson, and that's not a mistake I'll make again, but I'm sure I'll make plenty of others. So anyway, I beg your indulgence, and that's what caused the very, very tiny little line change right there. Yep, thank you. And then, to be honest, while I was at it, I wanted to expand lot 5 a little bit just to give it a little more area and room for the future homeowners. And so I wouldn't have come to you and done that right now, except that I had to come back and fix this tiny, tiny little error. So I beg your indulgence and thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for that update. That was helpful. Are there any questions from anybody on the board with respect to this change or for Bob?
I was curious about that first adjustment.
Not hearing anybody not on the planning board that has any questions or comments on this A&R? Well, hearing none, I move to accept this routine, this change to the A&R as indicated on this plan.
Friendly amendment to the motion to move to endorse the A&R as opposed to accept. Frank, do you accept that friendly amendment?
Sure. Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Jim,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Steph,
Aye.
and I, Frank Hookham, and I as well. The second thing is to sign on behalf of the planning board. We could all go down to the planning board and visit with Heidi, or if we're still on summer vacation, I'm happy to swing by tomorrow if you like, and then we just need to vote that I could sign for the board. So hearing no conversation, I'll just take it upon myself to go. So I vote to have Frank Hook, sign on behalf of the planning board of this A&R.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Brett,
Yes.
Rob,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Steph,
Aye.
and I, Frank Hookham, and I as well. Okay, so that brings us to 7:10.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Thank you for the explanation. Heidi, would you like to propose a second item?
Sure. Quickly, one of the things I had sent was miscellaneous items from ATM 25. There was a whole slew of comments. One were comments from Mike Newman on the floor of our last town meeting. Mike Giammo had some comments, and I don't know if people had time to look at them, but I was going to suggest that we read them, maybe put them on for the next meeting, unless people have some thoughts or comments right now, if they did read them and want to say, yes, we're going to move those changes, or we need to have formal discussion on them. Just wondered what thoughts people had on those proposed changes.
I glanced at them. I'm not. I don't feel comfortable without having a further discussion with the board voting them. So I suggest moving into our next meeting.
I think that's fine. We don't need to vote on this. It's not a voting item, but I just wanted to get it on people's radar.
Heidi, one thing that I think would be helpful is that I think that some of these we did manage to incorporate at the last minute before town meeting.
A
So I
couple of
think
them, yeah.
it would be helpful if it could be made clear which of these are already incorporated and don't need to be further considered.
Okay, I can put
Also
that together, yeah.
in the scan, there were like a couple of like sort of like post-its, and I just wanted to make sure that it was the note on the post-it that we're supposed to be looking at, as opposed to language. I mean, it's all related, but I just want to make sure that wasn't accidental and there's covering up some changes or something.
It was not accidental. A lot of them I was trying to put in to say where they came and what little notes. This was my file that I didn't want items to get lost from last town meetings and that came over the months where we'd already held our hearings, we couldn't do it. So I kind of was just sharing my file with people, hoping people could look at it and say, yeah, we want to start revisiting this. This is going to take some time. If there's things we don't want to revisit, we're not, but I think we have a lot on tonight. So I kind of feel like tonight's going to be too much to go through.
I agree. I just sort of like want to make sure that I have the understanding of what the content is. But the other thing is, are we missing some from, remember you did a road show with Addie Mae, on there was a bunch of advisory comments that, again,
Yes,
some
and
of which were incorporated. They're not all, like I see comments from Mike Giaimo, but.
Right. And they were supposed to send me, I talked to Penn and he hasn't sent me his comments yet, but I know a couple of them had to do with the shed and whether a car could be parked in shed.
Yes,
Yeah,
that kind
and
of
he did,
thing.
right. And so we'll be talking with advisory again. I'm trying to talk with them earlier this year. And I've tried to let them know what's going on. I've actually sent an email on our last meeting in July, giving them a heads up, but this is the topic's going to be in the planning board so that they are informed all along and then they can jump in on discussions earlier. So I do think I've talked to Penn. He does want to bring it back, but he was going to email me his thoughts and I haven't got it yet.
Was it just Penn? I thought there were a
No,
number
Steve
of
Bonder had some as well.
Okay.
It was those two.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
So that's going to there. I was going to say, if you want to, I think we're just 1 minute away from the hearing. I don't want to go into our timeline yet.
Right, I was just looking at that myself, so we'll have to come back to that and look at the timeline.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to do is just poll and discuss, go through everybody's brains to see, what we all kind of remember should be on the next ATM and what we should be starting to work on. I wrote a few things down on the list for myself.
Yeah. I think we'll be shifting here to the first hearing. And then
So my computer says 7:15.
go for it.
Okay, so I'd like to vote to open the hearing, having been posted and published at 7:15 to update A&R approval not required. Form A application, amend Planning Board Regulations 380 Part 2 Article 2 procedures for submission of plans not requiring approval under subdivision control law. Do I have a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Rob Wolf.
Aye.
Tim Guarino,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Steph,
Aye.
and I, Frank Hookham, and I as well. Okay, so with that said, our hearing is open. I'll yield the floor to both Heidi and Jim, who have been taking the lead on this particular item.
Sure, we can start. Jim, I don't know if you want to go in, or Steph, if you want to bring up
I can.
the version, I would bring up the changes that I've highlighted in yellow.
Highlighted. Yep,
Yeah.
that's the only one I have open, so
Okay.
thank goodness.
It's pretty easy to talk through. And it's going to follow along what we have in our Form A, the application, is pretty much going to be mirrored in what's on the 380 regulations. But we'll keep them separate because we're going to have two separate votes.
Yeah, because I try to keep them consistent and cross-reference each one as best
Right.
possible. So we changed the first item, the number of Mylar copies to 4. As you can see, I think it was, I forgot what it was before, actually.
There was actually one form said 4 and one said 5. And we don't need 4 copies. We need the Mylar and 4 copies. We don't need Mylar and 5 copies.
So we're also requesting a CAD file or a shape file that can be plugged into the town's GIS maps, which is something that's very useful. And then an electronic copy or PDF bundled into one document. And then that'll be filed with the town clerk as well.
And just for record, everyone I've been here has sent electronic copies. It just has not been a formality, and I just would like to make sure that everyone knows we would like the electronic. So it's already being done.
So that's what we all reference in these meetings, and that's important for that purpose. If we're remote. The next item is fairly important because it has to be a complete document, and that's what we're acknowledging here, that it's a complete application. And I'm trying to remember, the town clerk would determine that, or would you determine that, Heidi?
So I determine if it's complete, and then it is filed with the town clerk. And town council said, we should probably reference at the top of it, that the complete application is filed with the town clerk or something else, but the application has to be deemed complete before the clock starts. And then it does still get punched in with the town clerk.
Then there's a 21-day period for that.
Or to get it within 21 days to have a hearing, yeah.
So do we need to change something on here, Heidi?
I'm thinking that we
Can we
still need
change
to
it
add
here?
somewhere in here, file with the town clerk.
And accepted by the town planner or something to that effect.
It says submit to town planner, but really it
right.
should say town clerk.
I would think maybe town, you
Well,
submit it to me first for review.
It needs to be filed with the town clerk,
Right,
but that doesn't mean it's complete. So someone,
right,
presumably you, Heidi, would need to make that determination. So
yeah,
Right. But these are the instructions for the form. It says fill out the form
Yep.
and then it says submit to town planner. So is that the right step for the instructions?
should say town clerk, I think.
no, the town clerk should not be getting all those documents. It's they don't know what to do with them.
So you would accept it. And
I
then
think they should still come here. I think this is correct. I would leave this, and then maybe we add.
The time period does
Judy?
not commence until it's filed with the town clerk.
And so
And,
complete
and-
and filed by the town clerk.
And notice filed with town clerk. How about that?
But whose job is it to file the notice with the town clerk?
The MGL says that it's filed with the town clerk. They're not necessarily specifying. Other planners were telling me that they're the ones that take it up. I know some people do like to make sure they get it in and file it as well. So I've been struggling with where we put the notice to the town clerk in here.
Well, that's prescribed in MGL chapter 4181P. Like you
Not the clerk part.
Yeah. I know.
But this isn't the applicant, right?
Yes.
So it would make sense that they submit it to you, Heidi, you review it and then file it with the town clerk right after
Right.
or jointly.
I mean, and you can have a verbal conversation with whomever that you will let them know by email or by phone that, when you have done that. So they also know when the time starts.
Right, it should still say the applicant has filed a complete application, not the town planner, because the MGL has the applicant filing.
I thought you just said sometimes the planner brings it to the,
I-
so,
it- So it seems to be there is a notice filed with the town clerk, and then there's the application. So that's why I was trying to say, if we can say applicant has filed a complete application and notice filed with the town clerk.
so somewhere in the instructions, we need to tell the applicant what they have to do, right? Where we've told them, fill out a form.
Yep.
Submit the form to the town planner. If they need to also file a notice with the town clerk, we need to put that into the
So-
instructions here.
Right, so how about a G?
You know, kind of reading through this after the fact.
Well, I
Mm.
think
Yeah.
it's a 4, right? Not a G.
Okay, 4, yep. Notice filed with the town clerk.
But what does that mean? File a notice?
So
Is that clear to a layperson?
Maybe-
Bob is still on the call. He's actually one of the good examples. He writes a separate little piece of paper to the town clerk that he's filing this document.
Maybe you need to have a stamp or something with, that says you've reviewed it, and then they can go to the town clerk.
Yeah. And, maybe we can have a piece of paper that is that is a standard form. I can have one that they can fill out and bring upstairs to be filed once it's complete too.
So you review it for completeness on the spot and then they can
I
file
try
it.
to review, if I'm here, I review it in the spot. What I'm trying to prevent is people dropping it off on a Thursday after I've left and I come back on Monday. And that they think that the clock started on Thursday.
Is that appropriate what I put here? Submit to the town planner to review for completeness?
Yeah,
And I think you need to add that once determine that it's complete by the town planner to instruct them to file with the town clerk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we say it in here, that 21-day review period. Maybe we should.
I don't think we have to here.
yeah, that's the MGL.
Right, but just to make that clear.
So once Form A is, or once the application is determined to be complete? So in line 4, once the application is determined complete by the town planner. Just determined to be complete by the town planner.
Can we put this in a holding pattern on this language for now? Because there's some things I still want to run by town council. And we'll come up to some other sections in the regulation that I'm gonna bring it for. So if we can just put this concept on hold for a second and then continue on and come back to it.
Okay,
You jump down to here.
Yeah,
Was this added, Heidi, after?
this was added, yeah, I mean, so the form that I had shown you, I did have town council review and they said it was good. They just wanted to add the town clerk portion in it. But I didn't get to have them see the language of where the town clerk language would sit. This was approved by them.
Okay.
Now we'll get into the contents of the plan, and this is something that's going to mirror with our board. So the first one, H, and also I had to change letters and numbers to match what the general code was. So I think this was number 8, which was now H. This is something that other towns have had in it, and a question has come up that I think it's worthwhile discussing about location of all existing structures. Part of the concern we have if things aren't shown on the plan is that the planning board would end up creating a lot line that actually then makes something non-conforming on someone's property. So that's why other towns have put something here so that you're making sure that you're not creating lot lines that all of a sudden now the swimming pool sits too close, the setback was incorrect. The question that was presented was septic tank and leaching facilities are not visible structures. And I did speak with Joyce, who's on the call, who's done a bunch of surveys, and a lot of times it's whatever the town has on record is used, and approximate locations are put down and listed as approximate location of a leaching field, but it would give you some idea that there's a leaching field in that area, and to be aware if you're drawing a new line going through a leaching field or not through a leaching field. But we don't want to ask someone to have to go and pay a lot of money to have a survey done for something that's not visible. There are some properties in town, though, that may not have this if they're very old. So question we're trying to figure out is how do we get information that the planning board can make some decisions that's not creating a non-conforming zoning issue, yet is not a burden to the applicant.
So let me just ask, if I may, the question, by the way that this is worded, where it says the location of all existing structures, does that mean by default that it has to be done by a surveyor? That it can't
No,
be done,
I
that it
don't.
can't be done by a map like what the conservation or the Board of Health does?
The other towns actually have not said anything on this, like it not requiring more. It's just we do say shall. So I think it's, and Joyce, if you want to chime in too to correct, I think some of the things is you list it as per record or.
Because doesn't the town of Sherborn keep records, at least for most of the more modern properties, of the locations of septic systems and leaching fields and that?
I mean, we have some of it, but that creates a burden for the person reviewing it, which, I mean, it's someone has to do it, right? But like if a plan is submitted without this, but the town has the information, it's not that simple to take a PDF plan that you've received in an application as a hard copy, compare it to the hard copy records in the project files or in the building files, and guess where the septic tank might be. Heidi and I had a conversation about this. So first of all, I would like to add well to this list because it's a structure that I think is important to include. So if I can just put that here for as a placeholder for now. But Heidi and I had a conversation about this. It is important to get a survey of structures that might be near where lot lines might fall, right? I think that's an important thing to do. But if somebody has like 6 sheds on their property, they don't have to get corner points on all of those structures, right? That seems like an unfair burden. Or if it's a swimming pool and the lot lines are coming nowhere near the swimming pool, they shouldn't have to survey and pay for that survey. They should have to pay for that survey where the setbacks come into question if you're moving lot lines, right? So how do we distinguish that? And then the other piece is the underground features. My preference is to say they shall be shown on the plans where data is available, right? We're not trying to make you dig up the corners of your septic tank and have them surveyed. But I do think putting them on the plan and not requiring Heidi to go dig through and trace it on herself so that we have an understanding of where it is, I think that if there's a That's a relatively easy exercise for us, for someone who's putting together a plan.
So I guess the only thing I'm not sure I follow with you, Steph, is with H, wouldn't the person that was submitting the application be the one that would have to go to the file in the town and put that onto the plan? It wouldn't
yeah.
have to be Heidi after the fact to do that.
Totally.
And go look that up. But
Yes, so
and I
that's where I'm
certainly
saying
think
where
that-
information is available.
And I think also that if it is and is there and it's available, it's a lot less costly than, you know, getting the survey done. And for us, really, the bottom line, the effective aspect of this is just to make sure that it's not going to be close to any modified lot line that that's going to create a problem in the future. And I would put well outside of the parenthesis and put it as a comma after the septic or before the septic. But
Is it not a structure? It might not be a structure. Yep.
before we go to and people off the board, are there any other comments from anybody on the board?
Well, when you're talking about, you're basically talking about anything that has a setback requirement associated with it. And I'm trying to remember the zoning regs, but that even includes fences, doesn't it?
Right, so
Or
that's
put-
why it's you know, existing structures, and we have et cetera. And it might be that this is broken into two sentences, one on existing visible structures that have will affect setbacks. And then the next part would be the well, septic, and anything else underground where information is available that could potentially impact setbacks. I don't know. I mean, maybe you separate those two concepts.
I think the wells are visible to the surveyor, aren't they? So that can be a part of the above ground. But Rob, when a fence is under 7 feet, it doesn't require a permit, but it's when it's over 7 feet, it does. So maybe there's a way to change this so that it's not just about structures, but it's about, you know, features requiring with setbacks in the zoning bylaws or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to go crazy here. I mean, we don't want people have to like put in every lamp post and mailbox
Right.
and
Right.
everything.
And I wanted to add a clause, something like where they have the potential to be affected by the ANR or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like if you have a swimming pool in the middle of your property and you're changing the boundary of your property, you don't have to survey that swimming pool.
Right, like later on, we're saying stone walls that only are on the property. We don't need every stone wall drawn in the whole property. It's again, only ones that are affecting the boundary lines.
Should structures be italicized, maybe to read the definition, which defines?
I don't want to create a definition. I'd want to rely on.
And I think we just had our bylaw change done, referencing what's a structure. We did some things
Yeah.
in the bylaw last town meeting. So I
We
think
did.
that will cover it. My recommendation is, and I want to go through this A&R, but I would like to actually end up continuing the review of this form till our next meeting, till I can get town council to weigh in and give us some feedback on this. I think I want to get the intent conveyed here and get planning board's wishes of what they would like to see this, and then ask town council to come up with some language that would cover it.
Sounds good. Are there any,
I just have a couple of comments on an earlier section of the form, which I think has some typos on it.
But Rob, before we leave this particular topic, we do have some hands up from people off the board, which may want to comment on this particular topic. So if I could just see from them if that's the case, then we'll finish this conversation and then we'll move on to those other points. So Bob, you were the next one with your hand raised. Did you have a comment on specifically on H? And
Yes, absolutely. Great. Yes.
H subscript I as well.
Sorry.
So H and H subscript I, which is, you know, the second part of
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Frank. I just, you know, this doesn't really have an impact on my work because typically I do A&Rs before things are built, not afterwards. But the point I made to Heidi earlier today in my comments is that, you're really going to end up burdening people. And if you kind of, I guess, make it only necessary in certain situations, then that relieves the burden. But these surveys, getting surveyors to come out and do these things, it's many, many, many thousands of dollars to do that, to come out and survey these various things. And so I would just be cautious about requiring that of homeowners, because you're not only going to, well, you're really not going to catch up developers in this challenge. You're going to catch up just regular residents who are making minor changes or doing things with their property. And then the other point that I do feel strongly about is I don't see how you can ask folks to survey existing septic fields and existing tanks, because you can't, as you were starting to, I think, talk about, you can't survey them. They're underground and they can't be surveyed. Now, I will point out that the Board of Health has a rule, and I think it's been around for a while now, so it's starting to kind of have an impact on the available information. They have a rule that a homeowner is required to submit an as-built drawing of the septic and of the well, and perhaps of the tank. But the idea of having the homeowner get the surveyor to put an approximate location of these
I
things.
don't think that was our intent. I
No,
think our intent was
Not
to
the
go
sur,
through.
it's
Well,
where
I
there's,
would just defer to Joyce on this, because Joyce can tell us. I don't think a surveyor can put an approximate location of something on a A&R plan. But I'll leave that to Joyce. So anyway, I would be cautious about this, because you're going to catch up homeowners doing very small things with their land and cost them, in my mind, unnecessarily thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. So, George, before we go to you, Tom does have his hand raised. Do you have anything to add to that, Tom?
Yeah, just a couple things. Thanks, Frank. And the first thing I raised my hand for, Steph mentioned at the wells. I thought that was a critical add. But getting to septic, the Groundwater Protection Committee over the last 3 years have surveyed all 1,580 properties, and there's at least 60 or 70 with cesspools. So you might want to add that to the list of structures. And as many people and Bob have said, a lot of these, we have homes that are hundreds of years old. So a lot of the underground structures, if we're lucky, there's a hand-drawn approximation of where on the map a leaching pit or a cesspool or something might exist. So I agree that you want to be careful with demanding a survey on some of these things. Thank you.
Could you put a stipulation where available on as-built drawings?
So let's let Joyce add to this, because I think she might have some. Oh, and Daryl's also on this and has her hand raised. So Joyce, go ahead.
So I just wanted to point, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that when the purpose of this is when you create a new lot line, a homeowner or a developer or whomever has a large parcel of land and they're putting a brand new lot line in to create an additional lot. And the idea is you want to show structures in relation to that lot line to show that they comply with zoning. So oftentimes we'll show, in response to Bob, we'll show septic systems if they are clearly far away from that, just to show where the septic is. If it's really close to the property line, then the homeowner is going to have someone come out and they're going to chase the lines because they do not want to put their septic system over a property line. So if you're doing this to develop new lots or to create a new lot, you're going to, that's part of the cost of creating that parcel. If you're just dividing it to say, send a piece of land to somebody else, again, you might be doing it to respond to a zoning issue, or maybe you're doing it to give the neighbors some area, and perhaps it's not as important there, but that's the intent for new property lines where you're creating new things.
Thank you. That was helpful. Daryl? Daryl? You're muted.
Yes, I commented it's relative to my
Oh, Daryl, you're really breaking up. Are you on the phone?
visible
Daryl has this problem with her sound sometimes, I've noticed.
Yes, terrible connection. All right, I'll try. Can you hear me?
Maybe call in if you can.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Joyce, I have a question for you. If someone is submitting an A&R, is there an assumption that a surveyor has come to their property, like that a surveyor is involved?
Well, a surveyor isn't supposed to just create a plan. He isn't just supposed to take at face value a plan that's on record unless it's his or her original survey. You're supposed to go out and confirm that, the record information shown on the plan. So a surveyor is supposed to go out to the property, and you should, or you're required to show where the houses are, just so that you can show that you're not, again, putting lot lines through the middle of houses. So I think just by the fact that you're creating it, a surveyor has to create the plan, and a surveyor by their own license agreement, they are supposed to go out and confirm property lines.
So I just bring that up in response to Bob's point about the costs, is that there is a surveyor involved in an A&R process. So we're talking about an incremental cost, not a mobilization cost of a whole new project for a surveyor, but it's adding corners to what a surveyor is already out looking at, right? So
Well, Steph, it's the surveyor, the cost comes from, for an A&R, the surveyor doesn't need to come out on the land to,
that's not what I just heard Joyce say.
Joyce,
survey.
Joyce, you're muted.
So the requirements of a surveyor's license is that one of the things is you don't take at face value a plan that's on record. You're supposed to, your surveyor is required. Does everybody go out into the field? If they don't, they're not following the rules, so to speak. So the answer to that is yes, a surveyor should be going out to the property on all lots. Even if the lot has no house on it, they at least have to go out and confirm that the property lines shown in the plan are the property lines, are where they are supposed to be.
But Steph, I would just say that there is a cost
For sure.
to having someone come out and bring all the equipment and locate, as you were describing, the corners of things. And I've experienced about the smallest cost you can have is $2,000 to $3,000 to get people to come out and just do very, very quickly a few things.
Yes, but my point is that there's already people out for the purpose of an A&R. So it's an incremental cost.
Not if they
of
did
adding
the
points.
original, what Joyce said was they don't come out if they did the original survey, right?
Okay.
So for example, the A&R that we just did tonight, they wouldn't need to come out because they did the survey. They know the land. There's nothing they would
Right,
see on the ground.
And there's no, but I think what we're mostly speaking of is there's an existing house on a lot that's being divided. And so, yes, you want to show where that is. You don't show all sheds, because a lot of them under 200 square feet don't require a building permit. So you're locating the major structures. If they're close to the, it's got to be, you've got to be able to somehow tell people it's within, the setback of the new property line.
So I've added some language as just a proposal here. I'm just like thinking out loud here, right? Locations of existing structures and wells where required setbacks may be in the vicinity of the proposed lot line change.
That's improved, Steph. I agree. In other words,
So-
to not require it automatically if someone's just making a minor tweak way away, right?
Then it continues on with approximate location.
And then approximate location of septic tank or of subsurface features, essentially, where information is available.
And
So
is Joyce telling us that that a surveyor will put an approximate location on an A&R? I wasn't aware of that.
I apologize, I didn't hear your question.
I was just confirming whether a surveyor will put not a proposed, excuse me, a approximate location. In other words, if they know roughly where the tank is or the field is, will a surveyor put and call it approximate on the plan? Or I'm not aware that they
So,
do that.
so what the notes that I've put on there are approximate location of septic system based on files on record at the Board of Health.
And that's for an A&R plan, you would do that?
And that's for an A&R plan. But however, Bob, if that information leads us to suspect that septic system is questionably close to the new property line, then yes, they may have to chase out the lines and mark where the field is so they can be sure where it is.
Yeah, I think
And then
that
it gets
sounds-
located.
I think that sounds reasonable.
well, then should those subsurface be in part H? Should it all be part of part H, where you have to show an actual location of existing structures, wells, and subsurface structures where their setbacks may be in the vicinity of the proposed lot lines?
Seems to be what we're saying.
So that would be like moving this. Let's see.
And then this could then be checked with town council and we can finalize it at our next meeting.
Next meeting, yeah.
So Daryl, just while you're doing that stuff, Daryl, because we were having troubles with her audio, she typed in a note into the chat. So I'm going to read that for record. And what she wrote, word for word, is not all wells are visible above ground. The regs to have the well above ground is relatively new. In the past, it was typical to have top of the well in a small below surface vault.
I think the way we just restructured it though would cover that.
Right, I'm just reading what
Yeah,
Daryl wrote.
no,
Yep.
It covers it, yeah.
got it.
All right, rest of the planning board, are you all good with that? All right, hearing none, let's move on to the next topic. Is there any more on this?
I think if you want to quickly just look at the other changes, then we can move on to,
Well, no, we had to go back because
Oh.
Rob had a few changes that he wanted to add. So
Yep.
let's look at the next ones and then we'll go back to Rob's comments or suggestions.
Rob, you said you had some.
Yeah,
stuff up here.
back up where it has the requirement, we're starting either because.
Where is this? Oh,
Okay. All right, yeah, this is okay. This is a little bit different. So there's some typos that were corrected that were on the original one. But I guess I'm just trying to understand the requirements. It says either lot shown. I mean, that's sort of when it says either lot shown, it implies that you're showing two lots. I mean,
well, an A&R affects at a minimum 2 lots
right.
because you're moving lot lines.
I mean, one of these says either and one of them says each. And I'm,
Well, yeah, each has to have the frontage required, right? Not either, but both.
yeah, I'm not sure why it says either in A and each in B. Wouldn't it just, wouldn't it make sense to say each in both cases or not? But an A&R doesn't actually require frontage
Right.
if you're just like transferring a sliver to a neighbor or something. So I guess I just don't understand what this requirement is really trying to say.
I think it's stating which public way or where it has frontage for part B.
Yeah, but
The statement itself says that this is an A&R in which approval is not required because it's not a subdivision. And it's not a subdivision for one of two reasons, either because everyone has the minimum frontage, so it's not a subdivision, it's individual house lots. But I don't really, this is how I'm interpreting it, and I don't.
And that
how
front,
about,
This,
I think what it really means is any buildable lot shown, any lot shown as buildable has the minimum frontage. You can create a non-buildable lot as long as you label it as such.
Joyce has her
That's
hand
the
up
issue.
too. She may have some insights.
If you're taking an existing lot and splitting it into two buildable lots, they each have to have frontage. If you're taking an existing lot and splitting it into a buildable lot and a non-buildable lot, then only one of them has to have frontage. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it seems like what we're basically saying is any buildable lot on the A&R has the minimum frontage area and width required by zoning bylaws. And also in B, I guess that this is kind of an odd point, but if you have a corner lot and you break it into two lots, they don't necessarily both have frontage on the same way. One of them could have frontage on one street and one of them could have frontage on the other. And it's written as if they have to have frontage on the same way.
Right, although you could fill out the or because, I mean, this is the applicant that's supposed to fill this out to us.
Mm-hmm.
So the or because could get details. Joyce has some information and she might have, could comment.
so just this, these comments are basically to say, usually A would say, the lots have the minimum frontage and width on a public way and it's named as such. And then B would say, or the lots have frontage on a way that is a private way or a way approved by the planning board. And the reason for that is if you have a subdivision that's under construction and they come in, it's got frontage on the way that's approved by the town. And that could also be under or because, and or because can also capture lots not to be considered to develop a lot. And with the way people get around this or make this clear is in front of A or in front of B or in front of 2, they write lot 1 and lot 2 or lot, whichever one it applies to it in front of each one.
So there's a way to make the form work as is
Yeah,
without trying to.
you can make it work the way it is. Maybe by
I-
adding one more line.
yeah.
Robbie, you good with that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, my understanding is that whenever you're splitting a lot into multiple lots, 2 or more, that each of the lots must either have the required frontage or be labeled as non-buildable. Is that a correct statement of what is required? That's what I've always assumed.
Maybe it's because one says either because maybe it should say they should have A, the minimum frontage, or B, and B, what the streets it fronts on, and then or because can handle
Exception.
all non-buildable lots or parcels. Maybe just changing that word instead of either, because you're saying either because, and then you're saying and.
Oh, I didn't even see the and there.
Yeah.
So you're saying delete either?
Or just come up with a better word for the either because. The lots shall have the following. Or, and two would be, or
And leave it
Or
blank,
because.
because
or,
of the, or because of the following.
I don't know when this one was created. It's lasted a lot of years and it hasn't come up before.
So Steph, I think she means in number 2 that it becomes just or because, and then number 1, it says, meets both A and B.
Right,
or
so
because.
either is confusing to me because it says and. Right?
So the either is before 1 and 2, not for the A and B.
Yep, that's a good way to say it, Frank.
Yep.
It says
Yeah,
to
that's
fill
good.
in one of those sections, but not both. So if I'm taking a lot and I'm splitting it in two, and one of them is not buildable, I don't see how to fill this out that conforms, unless I just
Yeah,
write everything down in the because I am building lot A that does this and lot B that does that.
That's what I would do if your whole plan, either your plan is all conforming or part of the plan is conforming and part isn't.
Okay.
the parentheses where it says fill in section 1 or section 2, I would say that doesn't apply. It should be fill in section 1 and section 2 as appropriate. But not both doesn't really apply.
Yeah.
I
So you're basically saying section 1 corresponds to buildable lots and section 2 corresponds to non-buildable
Non-buildable.
lots.
Yeah.
or
That's not at all clear, really, the way it's done.
well, or what Joyce was saying about the subdivision that's been approved but hasn't.
But it
It's
has
not
been
a
accepted by
public
the town
way.
yet.
Yeah, hasn't been accepted by the town as a way yet, as a street.
Let's leave this text as it is right now.
Well, can we just delete that just for clarity? It just seems like there's so much, we don't need to say fill in section 1 or section 2 below, but not both. Can we just delete all that? I'm just trying to do less words. I don't like more words when we don't have to have more words.
So I'm just saying that town council is going to have to go through this anyway and look at some of the words. So it's really our intent. I think the words that you had there before, section 1 or 2 as appropriate and 2 as appropriate, and let town council fix that, and so that we can move on to.
Okay, but I also tried to put the either before the 1 and the 2, like you suggested, and if I do that, it's very clunky. So if I restore this and say fill in section 1 and section 2 below as appropriate, for either 1 or 2, I'm going to delete this, right? Because that was an attempt to put either before the numbering, as you
Right.
had suggested, Frank.
Right.
But it doesn't work to leave this in and then say after that for either 1 or 2 below.
Right.
So, okay. So we'll do that then. Anything else? Any other monkey wrenches, Rob?
No, that was it.
So then there's more down here.
So, so item J, we're specifying that existing stone walls are part of the property boundaries. We're adding that.
Right, that if there's an internal stone wall, it does not have to be shown on the on
The
on the A
survey.
and R because the planning board doesn't really have jurisdiction over stone walls except with regards to the Scenic Road Act, right?
Yes.
And those are property boundary.
So we ready to continue or?
Yep.
Just-
So O and, everybody look at O and R.
Yeah, so O is added, I think, in its entirety. Yes, it's
Yes.
highlighted.
Yes.
I think O is fine. Anybody else have any other comments on that? I think R looks fine as well. Gives us the opportunity and ability to go back and get more information as needed. So again, this still needs to be vetted by town council, yeah?
Yep. And then we'll bring it back. We'll if you could make a well,
Wait.
the regs, if we want to take a quick look at the regs, they're going to mirror this form, and all the comments we just made are going to mirror in the regs.
Yeah.
So I would say you could make a motion right now to continue the hearing for both the A&R Form A and the regs to next meeting.
Well, so you don't want to discuss, yeah, the regs are pretty close except the preamble. Do we want to look at that or not?
We can wait till next meeting because we're running
Okay.
behind.
Okay.
If we're going to have us continued, we might as well just move that to the next meeting. It's up to you.
I'm good with that. We still have a lot to do. Doesn't mean we won't have a lot to do next time. But at least we have 2 meetings in September.
Right.
Okay, so I make the motion what Heidi said, that we continue this this hearing on the A&R Form A as well as the regs
Regulations, yep.
to our next meeting, which is so I have to state the date of that, which is September
2nd, I believe.
Again.
2nd at 7:15 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor, Jim Guarino,
Aye.
Rob Wolf,
Oh,
Pierce,
Sorry. Aye.
great, Steph,
Aye.
and I, Frank Hookham, and I as well. And I've also saw Jane come on. Is Jane still with?
Jane
Yes,
is
Jane
here.
Rod. So when Jane say hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm here as an observer tonight. I have not been sworn in as an associate planning board member, so I'm strictly here as an observer. Just wanted to clarify that.
Well, welcome anyway. Hope you enjoy your
Thank you. I appreciate
this
that.
observational meeting.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so Heidi, I'm going to ask you. We have item 2 for the hearing, which is for the stormwater. We also have somebody that was going to present on another topic. How?
Why don't you motion to open the stormwater hearing to be continued following the next the Milborn article?
I
So
mean, what Heidi just said. I make a motion to open. So I need to. I've already moved the other meeting. So I make a motion to open the amended planning board regulations to include 380 Part 5 stormwater management section. And I want to move that to later in this meeting. Should I say 8:30, 8:45?
8:30.
8:30. Do you have a second?
Second.
Should move in second. All those in favor, Rob,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Jim,
I,
Steph,
Aye.
and I, Frank Cookman, I as well. Okay. Do we have? Yes, we do. Okay, so I like to go to the section of the agenda, which is current planning board business. We've completed number 1, the A&R. So I'd like to go to number 2, the Milborn Farm. Trustees of the reservation request for planning board approval for a parking lot. And with that, we do have, where is she? Elizabeth Carey Sewell, who is the contact person with the trustee that would like to give us, as well as Mike Nooney, who is also a part of the trustee, and they will be giving us a presentation and answering our questions. I see somebody else on as well, Dee Hayden. Is that part of your organization? And
Yes, my colleague DA Hayden is here. Do you want to say hi, DA?
Hi, everybody. I'm DA Hayden. I'm the Regional Vice President for the trustees, and the Charles River Valley is part of my area of responsibility. So I'm based over in Dover at Powisset Farm. Thank you for having us this evening.
wonderful. Thank you for joining us. So, Elizabeth, are you going to be the leader of the presentation this evening?
I am, and I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with everybody.
You should have access to that ability.
Okay, so I am going to start with this. Okay, so first, good evening, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. My name is Elizabeth Curie Soul, and I'm project director with the trustees. And I'm here tonight to present on a parking area proposal for Milborn Farm, which is located at 63 Bullard Street. So the trustees, well, before I jump into the parking proposal, I just wanted to give the planning board an overall vision of the trustees' plan for Milborn Farm. So Milborn was acquired by the trustees in 2024, and we're in the process of opening it up for passive recreational use by the public. The plan is to be open for public use in June 2026. So the property, which this is an aerial of the property boundaries, is 195 acres in total. And you can see on the northeast, we're framed by the Charles River, South End Pond to the south of us. And actually, interestingly enough, Milborn Farm is both in Sherborn and Millis, hence Milborn Farm. Again, the vision is really to have this continue to be a passive recreational use. This is a really unique and sort of iconic, both for visual reasons and for ecological reasons, property. And we would love to have folks come and just be able to walk. There's an existing trail system here that I'll go over. So to give you just some context for the existing site conditions, there are currently 3 different access points on site. Can you all see my mouse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's good. So the first is here, which is actually at 97 Bullard Street, Sherborn. The second is this driveway here, and then there's a third driveway here. So we're really going to be focused on this driveway, the central driveway, which will be our primary visitor access. And these 2 other existing driveways are really just going to continue to be used for staff or stewardship purposes. All right, I'm going to go to my next drawing. All right, so this is a blow up of the
Didn't change screen.
Oh, it didn't. Okay, let me see.
You may have shared a window instead of sharing a whole screen. So we're only seeing the window with the map. So you may need to unshare and reshare.
How's
no, I got
this?
it
Did
now.
that work?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
fabulous. So we're focused on those 3 entry drives here. So you can see this is 97 Bullard Street here. And this is the driveway that we're really focused on for our conversation today. But I did want to show, in addition to the site work for the visitor parking, we're also doing some road resurfacing. And so we're resurfacing the drive, the existing drive from the new visitor access point across the property, an existing drive that connects to 97 Bullard Street internally. So this is an existing farm road. It's really a gorgeous drive. And there are views across the open fields, and there's some really beautiful specimen trees along that the path. So we're anticipating that this will be kind of a centralized part of the trail system. So we are proposing resurfacing with dense grade crushed stone, which is what is there now, except it's really divoted and the road itself is just a little difficult to walk through, and the water moves sort of weirdly across it. So we're really talking about just very fine grading the drive and resurfacing with dense grade. And then I'm going to jump up to the visitor parking here. So I'm going to reshare my screen. Okay, so here is the actual parking area plan. So you can see again that central visitor drive. The proposal includes broadening the existing drive to 24 feet wide so that we have room for 2-way traffic for visitors coming in and out of the property. And the intention is really to get people parked and out of their cars as quickly as possible. We don't want visitors driving around the property. And so we're pulling off, there's an existing stone wall here that we'll be pulling through and parking in this existing field. There are a couple of points where there's some really lovely views across this open field from Bullard Street towards this iconic barn complex. So we really wanted to keep the parking just as close to that stone wall as possible. So that's why it's sort of hugged against the stone wall on this side. And then we have accessible parking here that I'll zoom in and talk about a little bit more in just a second. And then an accessible route that connects folks to what we're referring to as the trailhead. And that's this intersection right here. So that's that intersection that folks will walk down and then take a left to head over to the 97 Bullard Street, or to go back further into the property where there's the forested trail areas. Again, this is the visitor parking proposal, a 25-car parking lot, including 1 accessible parking space. And based on a conversation that we had on site yesterday, we are proposing that that parking space is asphalt surfaced. The rest of the parking area will be, again, that same dense grade material that the roads will be surfaced. So we have 1 8-foot wide accessible parking adjacent to an 8-foot striped access aisle. And again, that connects to this stone dust accessible trail that heads to the trail system. So folks will be just pulling in here and parking parallel and then driving out that same route. So before I talk about, we had some conversations on site about the instances where we might need overflow parking, but before we do that, I just wanted to make sure that I'm answering any questions specifically about the parking proposal.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
It looks like with the 60-foot width, if you're talking your normal, I believe standard spaces are 9 by 18. That puts a 24-foot aisle in between the 2 rows of cars, which is more than adequate. But I know some of the like the Sherborn Forest and Trail people, the enthusiastic riders in the town, love to ride horses, and I'm wondering, we anticipate people might want to bring horse trailers in, and how do we handle? How do you intend to handle that?
So the Norfolk Hunt Club regularly hunts through Milbourne. They've been doing that for, gosh, close to 100 years. And when the trailers come in from the hunt, they would not be in this area. They take the road that Elizabeth was showing, continue straight down past the turn to the left, and they continue down 2 more pastures. These are on farm paths, and they park the trailers there, and then they cast the hounds in that area. Some of the local neighbors ride their horses on the property. There are several farms in the area, and what they do is they just hack across the street directly into the trail system that already exists at Milbourne. And then if someone were to bring a trailer to the property, there is room for a trailer to park. However, if they were to turn around, and being a person who drove a horse trailer for a long time, I was not the greatest at backing up. You would have to pull into the field and then exit. The entrance to the parking area will be wide enough that you can swing a trailer through.
Okay.
Elizabeth, did you want to mention the screening?
Oh yeah, of course. So the initial proposal for the screening that I had included in my narrative was initially we actually had some pretty dense hedgerow here. And it turns out that most of that material was either invasive or post-mature. So our wonderful stewardship team has done a great job of clearing out some of those invasives, but now we have a pretty clear view, particularly right at the entrance into the field. So something we talked about on site yesterday with Heidi and others was doing some additional screen plantings with material that might be just a little bit more horticulturally interesting or more ornamental on either side of the entrance that would both help screen views of the parking and also delineate the actual visitor entrance a little bit more clearly. Does that represent what we talked about, Heidi?
Yeah.
Yep. That was there as well.
Yes, thank you, Frank.
Did you also mention signage?
Yes, so we do have a standard trustees sign that we're intending to put on a post right at the entrance. And this is just a standard trustees hanging sign. And Frank, I apologize. I just realized I did not figure out the square footage of that before our conversation. But I will do that and get back to you on exactly what the square footage of that sign is. DA, you don't happen to know off the top of your head, do you?
I don't know off the top of my head, but as a point of reference, the Rocky Narrows sign that hangs on Route 27 would be the same size as that sign.
I was just going to ask if it was the same size, if you said it was the trustee sign.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the color will probably be different because it is a farm, but the size will be exactly the same.
Okay.
And I can get you those dimensions. I apologize. I intended to do that for this meeting.
The other thing I think, Heidi, was that you had also talked with our fire chief with respect to, as well as the people in Millis, fire chief in Millis, about the proposal for the road width and so on. Just want to share that information.
Sure, and I can see that I think you changed it to 12 feet on this already.
You did,
So,
Heidi. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Because they were concerned with the size. We need to bring in pumper trucks because I guess the water hydrant that's across the street in Millis is, he said, the end of the line one, so that previously when they've had to come sometime, they've had to bring in extra water, and that those tank trucks are pretty large. The concern from both fire chiefs was they wanted to be able to use the loop to come in because they don't see a way to have a turnaround space up here for fire vehicles or something of that size. So I think they both were envisioning that you'd use your U-shaped one that already exists, which you're pretty close to being able to keep 12 feet
Yeah.
going through. It's just when it comes down on the Miller side, there was a couple of pinch points. One's a big dead tree that kind of cuts down a little bit, and it was going to be up to you guys to figure out. Yeah, but and it won't have to be resurfaced, but just enough that they've got the 12 feet clearance going through the whole
Okay.
way.
Okay. Right. We'll take
and
a look at that.
Yeah.
The rest of this drive here.
Yeah, because
Certainly.
everything else seemed like it was going to make it. It was just right when you get probably 2/3 of the way down on that right side.
Yeah.
There was a small area, two small areas where it got narrow, maybe enough, but it looks like you could work if you shifted over to the one side a little bit more
Okay.
on what's there. And
Okay.
then I found out that apparently Sherborn and Millis have different lockbox keys. They all get unique keys for your town. So they said they'd need 2 lockboxes at the
Okay.
gates for one for each town.
Well, that's actually something I was hoping we could talk about as well. So I followed up after our conversation with DA about, what our plans were for having gates at the entrances.
Yeah.
And what we had talked about, DA, I think, was that there was not an intention for having locked gates. Is that right?
That's correct. So
Okay.
we have gates at a number of our properties. Between us kids, very few of them are ever locked. The fire department and the police department, if there is something that is locked, they do have additional keys. For example, at the top of Pekin Hill in Dover and South Natick, that is a locked entrance. So both the fire department and the police department have keys. If we decide that we are going to do something where, a gate will be locked, we will definitely provide keys to both towns.
That's great.
It's really important for us to do that as well because we want to be sure that those safety vehicles get in there as quickly as possible. Yeah.
We want safety vehicles to get in, but we don't want other vehicles that we don't want in to get in this one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Does
No,
that?
otherwise, they didn't have any other comments. Talk to the police chief. He felt too
Okay.
that this was fine. So.
Okay, great.
I will say the Sherborn Police and Fire are absolutely remarkable to work with. We had, an accident over at Rocky Narrows day before yesterday, and one of our rangers went by, called me immediately, said, he wasn't able to get any information, which is their protocol. And when I called them later, they were, just great about saying how easy it was to get in, how they were able to find the person very quickly, get them rushed out, get them to the hospital. Unfortunately, everything is okay. But we're in regular contact with, the public service employees in the town of Sherborn, and they're really terrific to work with.
So then sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to ask you, Elizabeth, was there any more to your presentation?
Well, I did want to talk on site. Heidi and I had talked about what we might do in the case of overflow parking. Certainly we're not intending to have a significant number of events here, but there are a couple of pre-existing events, including, I think, the fox hunt. And there might be instances where we would be coming back and asking, would that be sort of the protocol, is coming back to the town and talking about overflow parking, or I guess what would be the...
For example, the sort of event that we're talking about is we're going to do a grand opening. And so we'll have some overflow parking there. We may end up doing an employee event there at some point. We do work with the Massachusetts Arborist Association, and there'll be additional cars and things. So there will be occasions where the existing parking lot won't be large enough for something that we're doing. And traditionally, cars have just parked in that field. So that's what we would intend to do. We're not looking to change anything along those lines, but we wanted to be sure that you are aware of that and that we're aware of anything in particular that we needed to do, or if that was just okay with you.
So that is something that, that Heidi and I discussed. Did you want to, mention, what we had talked about, Heidi?
I think we'd probably want to say that we're approving the 26 cars with the potential for review of anything else that comes up to go through the appropriate boards as needed. Does that sound about right, Steph?
That's what we had talked about.
Yeah.
So would you be able to share with us what you mean by that?
Well, if it's something that you're doing with your employees and you have a food truck, for example, then you need to go through the Board of Health. If it's only just parking, then you would come back to the planning board. If it was something that was affected something, something along the waterway or whatever, then you may have to go to a different board. But
Right.
So that's why we didn't want to start creating all these different scenarios when we don't know. So we were just going to say appropriate boards, and it would be, public safety, if it's Board of Health, something on that, probably just to come. I don't know if the select board has to approve a certain event, but just to kind of say, if there is an event, to please come, and we'll seek the appropriate boards to go through.
Yes. Okay, we would do that on regular circumstances anyhow. So, and what we will also do, if there is going to be something where we would require parking in the field, should we come to you, Heidi, to give you a heads up that that's going to be happening?
I would think yes to start, just to someplace so we know who has to be involved on a decision. Does it need a police detail? It does. I would love to say select board. I don't have the answer to you to say. That's why I'm trying to just say appropriate board, and maybe you could come to me and I can find out who's going to be the board.
Okay.
I think we can work together on accomplishing something that will work for both of us, both organizations.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
We just have to put the approval, put the conditions down tonight, and I want to try and make the condition broad enough so that it does allow leeway, but enough so the town has some way of reviewing and making sure everything's safe.
Understood.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
So that does conclude my questions and presentation. I don't know if there are any other questions from the board.
So I believe we've looked at and the rest of the members of the planning board have received a copy of the off-street parking bylaw, and have had a chance to look at it, and this does fall within that. So are there any further details or questions on any aspects of the parking by the board? Any other questions by the board? Okay, so hearing none, I guess we can make a motion.
Can I give a list of conditions, Frank, that we would put in the motion?
I was going to ask Heidi if you could repeat the condition as you stated it, because I wasn't sure I fully grasped it when you said it out loud.
Okay, so my hope is that to approve the plan as presented, which includes the asphalted handicapped space with striping, the 12-foot emergency path as described.
Path width.
For fire access. Also to have the screening as described on both sides of the road. And that any event that requires overflow parking, seek the appropriate board approvals. Does that sum it up?
Yes.
Oh, and the sign, we should mention also the sign, that the sign will be the same size as is currently on
Rocky
Narrows on Route 27 in Sherborn.
And Heidi, I'll get you the dimensions of that just so
you
know exactly what that is.
Any event requiring overflow parking, that's the one I wanted to hear. I think this is what you said, Heidi. Any event requiring overflow parking
Seek
that the
appropriate board
trustees
approvals.
shall seek appropriate town board approvals, but who's,
Shall contact town planner to,
that's what I was wondering, if, like, what is that, what's the process there? Yeah,
so any event that
To
requires overflow
identify.
parking, trustees shall contact town planner to identify
To
appropriate board
identify.
approvals.
Yes,
And together you and the person from the trustee would decide, figure out what the event is and what appropriate approvals would need to be had, and then when those meetings are, and work
Right.
it out.
So Steph, last time for the record, any event that requires overflow parking, the trustees shall contact the town planner to identify the appropriate board approvals needed.
For the appropriate board approvals needed. Right.
yep.
Okay. So that's my recommendation for your approval motion.
Okay, so I'd just like to, Elizabeth, if you wouldn't mind, can you go back to sharing your screen and showing that first picture that the bird's eye view picture of the plot? So in closing and prior to our vote, I'd just like to say that Milburn Farm is an extraordinary 195-acre landscape graced with the frontage along the Charles River spanning the towns of Sherborn and Millis. This property is a rare gem featuring sweeping hayfields bordered by historic stone walls, rich forest land, and tranquil farm lanes, with over a mile of waterfront along the Charles River, Augusto Brook, which is that green that goes between the Charles River and the South End Farm Pond, South End Pond. It offers not only breathtaking scenery, but also vital habitat for native pollinators, plants, wildlife. Its ecological and cultural value cannot be overstated. Thanks to the vision and the dedication of the trustees, their commitment ensures that Milburn Farm will not only be protected, but shared. It will be a place where families walk, children learn, and nature thrives, open to the public, accessible to all. The trustees have a long track record with Sherborn that speaks volumes. Their stewardship of Rocky Narrows, a property that they've cared for since 1897, is a testament of their long-standing partnership with Sherborn and their unwavering dedication to conservation. This is more than a transaction, it's a legacy. By supporting the protection of Milburn Farm, we are choosing to preserve the character of our town, safeguard our natural heritage, and invest in the future where open space remains a defining part of who we are. Let us stand together in gratitude and in action to ensure that Milburn Farm remains not just a place on the map, but a source of inspiration, education, and joy for generations to come. I wholeheartedly support the motion and request a motion for the vote that Heidi has just made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Heidi, do I need to repeat everything you wrote, or can I just refer to what you
Well,
said?
Heidi, I just want to be fully clear, because Heidi gave a list of conditions, but is it a approval of the part? What are we voting on?
It's a vote to approve the off-street parking plan of Milburn Farm
Okay.
as presented by the trustees of the reservation with the following conditions. Sorry, I
Okay,
should have said
thank
that.
you.
With those conditions that Heidi made.
Yep. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. A roll call vote. All those in favor: Jim Guarino,
Aye.
Rob Wolf,
Aye.
Beth Piercy,
Aye.
Steph Harrison,
Aye.
and I, Franco Kim, and I as well. thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having us. And that
Thank
was lovely.
you.
Appreciate it.
That was beautiful. Thank you very much.
It's my
And thank
pleasure.
you for all the work that you all do for the town. It's, it's a lot of volunteer hours and we know how difficult it is. So we're very, very appreciative. Thank you.
We look forward to the partnership.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
Okay. So now we reopen the hearing for the. So I move that we reopen the hearing.
We continue the hearing.
We continue the hearing for the amending the planning board regulations to include a new 380 Part 5 stormwater management section. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A roll call vote. All those in favor: Jim Guarino,
Aye.
Rob Wolf,
Aye.
Brett Piercy,
Aye.
Beth Harrison,
Aye.
Frank Hookham, and I as well. So Heidi, would you like to lead this?
Sure. So just a brief intro. The EPA has noted that Sherborn had never adopted any regulations. We have a stormwater bylaw, but we had no regulations to go with that bylaw. So this proposed regulations tonight are a requirement that has to match the existing stormwater bylaw. It is not what we probably would like to end up with our stormwater bylaw, but that requires a town meeting vote. So what are tonight is a public hearing for our regulations. We are trying to come up with regulations that will fit our bylaw and meet the EPA standard requirement so that we will be in compliance. What we presented and have put up there were taken from examples from towns, mainly Lexington, which is one of the templates the EPA had suggested we look at and use. It has been vetted. I had sent out what town council had put through and made some comments. And I don't know, Steph, if you want to put through, we can quickly go and review what's on here.
Yeah, I'm
But
trying to shift gears here.
yep, they're. So everything may not be ideally what we'd want to capture, but we are limited in what we can capture right now. So the first thing on number 2, we'll be putting in the public hearing will be on today's date on the rules and regulations.
And maybe just to clarify that the changes you see in the document are largely town council changes.
Yes.
And then there's a number of comments by town council.
Right. So we're going through the definitions section here, which are pretty standard definitions.
If you just for a second go back to the top of the beginning of that section 3.1, I think there's just an S that needs to be taken out where it says meaning. It shouldn't be meaning, not meanings.
The words shall have the following meanings. I think that was intentional.
Yeah.
I think it should be the word have the following meaning, but because each word has its own meaning. So a butter has a meaning, applicant has a meaning.
Yes,
But
so the
words is plural.
if there's 10 words, there's 10 meanings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because this is plural, I think this has to be plural.
Okay. I look at it as each word has a single meaning, but
I don't feel comfortable changing what town council put in on this regard.
Yeah.
just 1 of 5. So, go ahead.
How do you want to do this? Heidi, do you want to scroll through
Keep
the whole
going.
thing?
Yes,
or-
we can scroll through. I think the first one is going to be number 30 that had the next comment. just the permit granting authority. She just had identified just a couple of administrative words, which I don't see any problem with. And then the next one is going to be down to just a formatting one. Next one is down to amendments, number 4.0. What is there is, it has to be, she changed it to 7. We had 14 days, but we have to match what was in the bylaw. So 7 days. And then the next one is 6.1.
Can I, before we go to 6.1, can I just ask a question? And this might also, I'll just bring up the question. Our original stormwater regs talked a lot about illicit discharge, and it has a large section on that. It has a lot of words, a lot of description about illicit discharge.
Which original stormwater regs?
The original one that we're replacing this with?
There weren't any.
There are not
You're
any
talking about the
existing.
bylaw?
It says existing, yeah, the existing bylaw, yeah.
Right, so that doesn't change. The bylaws all stay.
Okay, so we don't need anything about illicit discharge in the regs then? Because it's in the bylaw?
Not anything more than what's in there right now.
Okay.
So this is going to be step 1. Step 2 is going to be a thorough review of our bylaw and regs. So we will probably be make some changes to our bylaws, and then we will have to change the regulations again. What we're trying to do is the bylaw, since it requires a town meeting vote, we can't do anything with.
Just talk so much about illicit
yeah.
discharge that I'm surprised that this has absolutely no discussion about it at all. That's all.
Well, an illicit discharge is not regulated. So I think the point of, I'd have to go back and look at but there wouldn't be regulations for an illicit discharge, because an illicit discharge is not one that's is illegal or unregulated. I have to. Is it 380? Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to take up everybody's time. I was just trying to find the language that you're referring to. I do want to sort of make sure we're covered. So I can open the bylaw that I think you're referring to.
Yeah, it's 200 and under like -4, -3 under definitions, except, and then after that as well.
Yeah, so this just says what's prohibited, which wouldn't be regulated. And just want to make sure. The enforcement agent for illicits. Yeah, I can't imagine how we would incorporate much of that into the regulations.
Okay.
Heidi, do you want to move to the next one, or?
Yeah, because I don't think we can do much. I mean, the goal that I asked town council was to review this and to make sure that this met our town bylaw, and that's what the comments were. So this one, it was, we want to strike the pink part, or the one that would get there, take out what's highlighted there, the respective permits shall accompany, because her comment was it's only the stormwater. What we had initially was thinking that we'd be working with conservation on this and that we try and streamline a permitting process. But our bylaw only stresses that planning board right now, so we can't add anything else in it. So she was suggesting we strike and their respective permits shall accompany the stormwater permit.
But then this is still kind of weirdly orphaned. So even if I delete this gray piece,
Yep.
the following boards or their designees shall serve as the permanent granting authority as described below.
Mhm.
I think the whole rest of it has to go. We can't leave upon a finding that the project has demonstrated
Well,
compliance with these rules and regs.
I think you can if we find that's there and we want to, because we are allowed to designate something to the conservation, but we still want to show that it met this requirement for us as permit granting authority.
Sorry, what was that?
Before
does
we
this mean,
designate
though?
it to someone.
Upon a finding that the project has demonstrated compliance with these rules and regs is odd to me.
I guess I look at that as the rules and regs are this whole section that we're reviewing. So someone's going to be putting in an application. We're going to review it and say, yes, it's met this, but then we will be able to designate something to the Conservation Commission. But we have to have had some type of a review before we can pass our granting authority on.
So this sort of says we would, upon a finding, so the planning board would always have to have a finding that the project is compliant with the stormwater rules and regs. So
That's
why wouldn't, so if the planning board is determining compliance, then why is the planning board, what is the planning board, I can't even talk. What is the planning board designating to the Concom if they've already done this compliance demonstration?
There'd be further review if it was in a buffer.
Wetlands area?
Okay. So so there's additional stormwater requirements that are not in these rules and regs for the buffer areas then?
Joyce, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that conservation does have, if it's in a buffer zone, they will also have a process to review something
That is
here.
correct.
Yes,
Right.
jurisdiction.
And it would be two separate permits.
Right.
Okay.
The demonstrated with compliance, it's weird to have it there. And I'm not sure why
Yeah.
it was, I'm not sure what its original intent was.
I feel like when we are the permit granting authority, that is the process then in which our board goes through to look at compliance with rules and regs. But this is the way this is, if we just delete this and leave the second half of the sentence in, it basically says
Yeah.
the planning board's gonna determine compliance, but not grant the permit. They're gonna then kick it to the Concom to grant the stormwater permit, even though we've already demonstrated compliance with the rules and regs. So I'm not sure why it's there. I would be.
We may not need it because town council was clearly confused with this too. So it might not be.
Because this is just the authority, so I would suggest deleting this whole thing.
That
How
would work.
would this functionally work if a plan was submitted and the work was clearly shown within the buffer zone, would we just hand it off to the Conservation Commission? Or
That's
would
how I understood it when we were talking about it at the last planning board meeting.
That was what we had discussed, but the bylaw says it doesn't say Heidi, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't say that at this point, the planning board could just hand it off to conservation.
Right.
It
It says the planning board is the authority and is the granting. It doesn't list conservation anywhere in our bylaw.
But the reason for sending this to town council was to confirm that the planning board can have a designee to serve as the permit granting authority. So the whole purpose of
That's why
sending
there's going to
this
be
revised.
revisions.
What's that?
Yeah.
That's why there's going to be revisions. This version is just to take care of the EPA. The next version will be to cover the changes that we would like to see.
Agreed, but I think the whole point of sending this off, this particular language, and I think it was highlighted when you sent it to or at least I was hoping it would be highlighted when you sent it to town council, was to make sure that we can designate a different authority.
Well, that's when it says a may, she was okay because it says a may. It's not that we will designate or
see.
shall designate, it's a may. So it's kind of like a
Okay.
step. We're not there yet, but she was okay with leaving it as a may.
Okay, so I just deleted this. I just deleted this whole. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
do that so quickly. I'm deleting the whole second half of this sentence. Is that what people are in agreement with? Should I track this somehow, Heidi?
No, I can see, I have the version here, so I can compare them if need be.
Well, it's just as easy for me to turn on track
Okay,
changes.
okay.
Then you don't have to compare. Okay. Okay. Is that that made sense to me when I saw the comment? I thought maybe we should delete that whole thing. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
Here she said it should be, instead of the permit granting authority shall provide, she feels it should be the applicant shall provide.
because this says submit 2 paper copies and 1 digital copy.
Right. Right, but she felt that number 2 that we're saying there that's highlighted, we're saying the permit grant authority shall provide this to the planning board, conservation, and building inspector. She feels the applicant should be the one that distributes it to these and applies to these boards, but it's up to you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It just says increase the number of copies in number 1.
Well, it says consider putting the burden on the applicant and then increasing.
Yeah.
So I think it means also that changing the permit granting authority to applicant.
I see what you're saying. If they give it that, it's something, I mean, I sit next to Chris and I sit right by Joyce. It's not going to be that hard to do it. So I think it is increase the number of paper copies.
Right. So it's like, I don't know.
Say 4.
Is it going to every member? Yeah. So 4.
Yeah.
And 1 to, and then you as the permit granting authority.
Right. Right.
Hand 1 to Joyce and
Chris.
Yeah.
And the digital copy can be emailed to all the board members.
Yes. So then this would just say distribute.
Yes.
Instead of, yeah.
Yeah.
You're distributing what was submitted.
Yep.
You need to indicate somehow that you're providing 1 each to each of those planning board, conservation commission, right? They're each getting 1.
Yes.
There.
Well, Conservation Commission might be more than 1 person, so they may get more than 1 copy, or do they make their own copies?
Well, we're saying 1 to each board.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Heidi would usually email it, right? Like she wouldn't necessarily it would just become part of the meeting packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next comment on 3B, we have list of abutters. We want to say, and abutters to abutters within 300 feet. List of abutters and abutters to abutters within 300 feet. Because what happened is when you have this, if someone's across the street, they're not an abutter, and then they will not be notified.
Okay. So it's like 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense.
That was her recommendation.
And then it says make consistent with abutter in 3.1. Do we need to do that?
Well, let's look. I think we said, I thought that was a pretty It just said our definition was owner of land abutting the site to which the activity occurs as defined by the certified or butters list on the town of Sherborn. If we're doing a butters
Okay.
to a butters, that's going to be the
Yeah.
certified list.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay, so next section, the fee structure. We're missing 2 to 3 acres here in this thing. So the
Well,
question came up also, are you having a single family residence fee? And then are projects from are the single family 1, 2, 3 acre plus more acres? So this was
non-resident.
confusing. And
Yeah.
this was just taken from a sample town. So this is up in the air for you guys to decide.
The other issue I had was we've never defined project in these rules and regulations. The applicability of the rules and regs go back to the bylaw, which describe 1 acre of disturbance, but not a project area, right? So I was a little bit confused by the term project. Let's see, where's the applicability? Purpose, definitions, applicability. So the applicability of the bylaw.
So do you want to say for disturbances rather than projects?
Will disturb or alter 1 acre or more of land. So disturb or alter or land disturbance is the threshold that kicks into these regs, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But then in the fee structure, it refers to the project size, which could be different from the area of disturbance, potentially.
Right.
I don't really know.
Right.
It's just it's not defined.
Right.
This could just say disturbing, projects disturbing 1 to
3 acres.
2. Yeah.
Well, should the project boundary should be shown on the plan then?
But there's no definition of project. There's a definition of the site on which the land disturbance occurs, I think. Let me remind myself.
But wouldn't that be wouldn't the project boundary define that area?
The project boundary?
Yeah.
What is the project?
Shouldn't it be the limit of disturbance?
The project is the limit of disturbance?
Or just saying what we're permitting is the limit of disturbance, not necessarily the project. Because the project might not all be in disturbed, might not all meet the requirement.
Right. So I don't like the term project because it's not described anywhere. But we could say a project that disturbs 1 to 2 acres because that brings it back to the area of disturbance. And this would be 1 to 3 acres. Right, and then this would be disturbing more than 3 to 10.
Do you want to eliminate the application fee for single family residence? And just go strictly with land disturbance amounts?
That feels more straightforward to me.
Do you want it, so disturbing greater than 3 and up to 10?
Yeah, I was just trying to keep it on one line.
Yeah. Maybe it'll stay on the line when
Maybe you can get rid of application and just say fee for projects.
Well, if the word from is removed, that's gonna give you the space.
Space. Oops. If I accept this change in it. That's pretty close. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, A doesn't seem applicable if you're defining it by acreage.
I agree. Does the board in agreement to delete a single family residence standalone?
Yes.
Oh geez, well that really messed it up. I'm gonna not do that in its entirety yet, and you can play with the formatting, Heidi.
Okay.
Okay, so now we've addressed this.
They just doubled the fee for single families.
We did. I mean, is the fee meant to have a basis? Like, is it supposed to represent staff time to process an application or something like that?
I would think so. You might want to go 150 and then 300 and then 500.
Also, now we don't have anything if you're disturbing less than an acre, right?
No, because our bylaw is only for 1 acre and
For
more.
one or more. Okay.
Yeah. We do want to get that captured, but we have to change the bylaw. So that's round 2.
How does a 40B apply to this?
Don't go there.
So this should be 150 then, we're saying?
I don't know. I'm just tossing out that, and it, that's halfway between your 100 and 200, kind of incrementally goes up.
Looks good to me.
Mm,
The next correction was down in B, 2B down there. It was just, there was two, oh, you were up there. 2B, it's just they got rid of one of the legal sightings.
okay. I will leave that to the attorneys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we had some pretty good pages then. Oh, you had a question. Did you have a question on 6.2? You wanted to know if those were appropriate
It
conditions?
was 7.3. It was
Oh,
7.3.
7.3, okay.
So I brought there's a couple points that I brought up in the last meeting that we didn't discuss because it was getting really late. One of them was there's, regularly discussion of climate change. If we wanted to, account for climate change somehow, this is the place I think where it would come in. It's really hard to do because there's no single agreed upon scenario for climate change. I just wanted, since this is a public hearing, we just don't even have that many people here, so I didn't know if that would come up, but
Okay.
that can be a want to have to discuss at a future date too.
Yeah.
7.3 was the one where I had my main question. I had asked it at the planning board as well. When it comes to standards, there's a lot of things about pollutant removal, 90%, of the average solids load related to the total post-construction impervious area. I understand what all of these things mean, but I don't have a good context for like whether these percentages are stringent or relaxed. I don't have a context for like, is 90% high or is it low compared to what a developer would expect or what a homeowner can do or what, what stormwater can be readily managed. So I think I just wanted to sort of understand that most of this bylaw or regulations came from the town of Lexington, but do we know whether the requirements are similar in many other towns as well?
Yeah, and Joyce had done a nice spreadsheet on a bunch of other towns while we were looking through, and many towns have the same or similar language.
Percentages are put in this number.
The five or six towns that we looked at, they may be in a different order, but they pretty much mimic what we have here. Everybody was pretty much the same.
Okay. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Don't think the next one is until 9.1 section.
Yeah, give me a second. And okay.
Okay, 9.1 right there, number 3, there were, again, more was just some grammatical changes.
Oh,
I didn't have a problem with.
Yeah, we can't provide it.
No.
But the town can, yep, okay.
Right. 10.5, she had the next one, I think. And it was just a strikeout on. She took out the word Massachusetts, said law.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next one is 12.0.
Okay.
And I see, and you've got some comments on here.
Yeah, so on notices and orders, I think the intention here, this says the permit granting authority may issue a written notice of violation to enforce the provisions of the bylaw and these regs, which may include but not be limited to requirements to suspend or revoke the permit, cease and desist, repair, maintain, or replace, perform monitoring analysis, and or fix any adverse impacts. I think these all belong as sub-indents to number 1. Like,
I agree.
Okay, 1A, yep.
yep, 1A through E, and then this becomes number 2, actually,
Okay.
which says if the notice of violation was issued, then
Agree.
they can appeal the decision. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
That makes a lot of
Yep.
sense. Yep.
Okay. So let's see if it's easy. It's not easy. Okay, cool. I'll just leave the comment in here. Heidi,
Okay.
it's just it's a formatting thing.
Okay.
Oh, I can try one other thing quickly. Nope. Okay. I'm not gonna mess with it right now. So just indented one more level was the comment. Okay.
Okay.
So then they said they added if the notice of violation was issued by an authorized agent and not by the PGA, then they can appeal.
I think this would be something like Concom. If there was a issue in the wetlands.
But is that saying if the notice was issued, because right up here it says it's the PGA, oh, or enforcing agent, I see.
Yep. Yep. So if we designate Concom as the enforcing agent, or if we designate them as the authorized agent.
Right. Okay, I guess. But then is this saying that like they can't appeal?
It says may appeal.
Oh, they appeal to the PGA.
Yep.
Okay. So if they disagree with okay, got it. That makes more sense.
They disagree, whoever we chose, they can still appeal to us.
Yeah. There's some weird line break things happening too. I have track changes on now, so it's kind of hard to fix them, but yeah, I don't want to mess it up.
Okay.
So, oh, this I see was,
I think it's a repeat.
No, it was
Yeah.
just, it was a formatting issue. It was
Oh,
just,
okay.
it had called it a number 5. Okay.
Oh,
If the PGA determines that abatement or remediation. Okay, so then the next comment from council.
she basically is saying to strike this. Because this is really, so if the permit group takes action upon the failure to remediate, notice shall be given to the violator order of the costs, including administrative costs incurred by the town. I think we're saying it's per section 8, it's per the other one above it.
Okay. If the PGA determines that the abatement is required, set forth a deadline by which must be completed. If they fail to perform the remediation, the town may at its option pursue a court order, allowing the town to undertake such work and the expense shall be charged to the violator. I see. So she's saying we'll take that route of non-compliance instead of this whole other thing.
Yeah. She doesn't want it to have to go to the select board, a decision by the select board. It said.
That feels messy. Okay. It makes sense to me to delete this. Any other?
That works for me.
Whoops, hold on. Okay. This makes sense. It'll be $200 per violation. Oh, so she's not saying first violation, second violation.
Because our bylaw has it very explicit, and and I think we have to add a section here, under enforcement. So we have a section in our existing bylaw, 200-6, section B, on its illicit discharges. And it has in there, any person who violates any provision of this chapter, regulations, or SMPs, or violation notices issued thereto may be punished by a fine of not more than $250.
Yeah.
We don't reference it in our regulation, and I don't know if we need to if it's in the bylaw.
But it also says penalty for non-criminal disposition is $200 per violation.
Right. So that's why she was saying 200. She corrected that rather than do the staggered one, as we do 200.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, that's a good catch.
Those keywords, end of document.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So this is the document, and then Frank had a really good catch. In our document, we reference storm permit application.
If you go to
6.62, is that?
6.2, yep.
Yep.
In the regulations?
Yep, in this one regulation, if we go to 6.2. It's titled application. Shall file, and we're talking about this whole application that is supposed to be a number of copies, and there isn't one.
It's the application form, right?
Right. So I did send to Steph and Frank a potential application to review that would go along with this. Joyce was kind enough to go and find a simple copy, which was mainly in Holliston. And I think it checks off the boxes we need to do. And again, this is our Band-Aid before we do our full one. And I think in order just to have something voted, we need to have the application voted as well as the regulation. So I don't know if you are able to, if you want to share that just to look at what it is. So we'll vote both.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I just have so many things on my screen. I'm like,
where is it?
You had. Here it is. Okay. I'm just gonna, nope, I can't do that. So let me just do a quick download. Go to my downloads folder.
So on the DPW webpage, there is a whole stormwater management plan that was done about 5 years ago that sits up there. And it's pretty extensive and lists a whole bunch of procedures and everything to be done. Again, there was no application there. It does refer them to doing the NPDES permit.
Yeah, but that's a state.
Yes,
That's
but
an
that, but,
EPA.
right, but there too, there was no application.
Right.
No, that's a whole separate thing.
Yeah,
That's not related to the town. Okay. So this is the,
We don't see it yet.
oh, really?
no,
We're still seeing the previous.
Zoom share changed the way. Hold on a second. Oh, I thought I was on screens, but okay, hold on.
There you go.
yep,
Okay, so just information on page
Yep.
1.
project description. Ask them to say, will steep slopes be disturbed or perimeter and roof drains being utilized? Just a couple questions, and then waiver requests, if any, what they're putting in, and then the application checklist. And
Or
then
does that
that they're
match our
certified.
application checklist? Is
It
that it should sort of match this, right?
Yeah.
The package to include the form, list of abutters. So we just need to sync up what's required in the rules and regs with what's required in the application checklist, right?
Yeah. Yeah. List of abutters. Well, and see, this is really just operation and maintenance plan that's in there. Yep. Erosion control plan is in there. Stormwater management plan is in there.
Yep.
So
The
yes,
site
other
plan.
than the list of abutters.
Yeah. Can I just edit the PDF?
Sure.
It's only in PDF format, so I'd have to go like this.
Put down certified list, actually. Sorry.
No problem.
The stormwater management plan is the same thing as a SWIP.
No, I think a SWIP has a very specific statewide meaning. Oh, it may be. So the stormwater management plan. I mean, we as specified in section 7.0 and 7.0. Yeah. I've lost where I was looking at this. Oh, there it is. Okay. So management plan, erosion control plan, operation maintenance plan, and then payment. So NPEDS permit, did you add this here or was this already in the Holliston form?
I did add it because it was in the Sherborn.
Stormwater management
I've forgotten
plan.
where it was. It talked about it in the.
I think it's under the DPW stormwater management plan, huge package online.
Okay. I mean, if they're gonna do a storm, they're gonna, if it's over an acre, they have to apply for that permit anyway.
Yeah,
That's a requirement.
it's true.
It's a federal requirement.
It's true. So maybe in this one, we add it to this list of the package. Application, copy of NPDES permit. So that,
Right, because they should be doing it anyway, but it may not have to be our regulation. Because it's a Fed regulation.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
whole federal process. And then we should put fees in here, right, too, in this list as well? Payment
But
of,
the fee is not an application checklist.
what did you say, Frank?
A fee is not an application checklist.
The fee is not part of the checklist, you're saying?
This specifically says application checklist.
But wouldn't the application need to include the application fees? Isn't that part of what we want in the package?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of checklists of these are the things that I need to make sure that I include when I'm doing this. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also feel like the fee should be part of that consideration.
Yeah.
Part of what you bring to the office and submit.
Yeah.
So the way it's worded, so these these lists should kind of talk to each other. I'm just trying to get them all both on the same screen. So this says payment of any application and review fees. So I'm just trying to shortcut it right now.
Yeah.
Similar to what we
The
did.
site plan arguably is part of the stormwater management plan because when you go look at the requirements of the stormwater management plan, it requires site plans. I don't know if we want these to be the same list, we would remove site plan from up here. I don't care if it shows up separately here, if people feel strongly about it.
When I see site plan, I think like of an overview of the whole thing, and it may be a part of the stormwater management plan, but it might be just a good introduction to look at what your project is.
Right. It's nice to have it separate.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll add it here then. So just so
Yeah.
they're consistent.
Yeah.
Do we require an existing conditions plan? Or should we?
I can look at what's required in the stormwater management plan, but 7.0. Existing and proposed zoning and land use, existing and proposed easement and utility. Yeah. Topography. Yes. Lots of existing and proposed. Okay. So now these lists match. Okay. So I'll Heidi or Frank, do we need to do anything else on this?
No, I think we're ready to vote it. I think we're ready to vote it.
Think, we're not pending
Oh.
town council on this, right? We're
No,
just ready
there's-
to vote?
Yeah, there's one other section I do want you to vote. The title page, we have to add section 5 to. Because right now the 380, we don't, and we have it, we don't have a section 5 for stormwater, so we will also be amending the title page in the
What do you mean the
regulations.
title page?
So, let me just bring up.
Stop sharing.
it was one of the documents I sent a long time, one of the first ones. If I go to section, if I go to the bylaw and I go up to 380. So when I look at 380 right now, we have part 1 is special permits, part 2 is subdivision rules and regs with different articles, part 3 is scenic roads. Part, do you have anything else to do about part? I thought there was. Part 4 is farm entertainments. So we don't have a part 5 yet. So part 5 will be stormwater.
Do you want to share something, Heidi, so we can visualize what we're voting on?
Let me see if I can figure out.
It's the green one in the bottom, right in the middle, share.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the section up first. Is it sharing?
Yes.
All right, so if you can see how it said part 1 is special permits. Part 2 is subdivision rules and regs.
Yep.
We have a part 3 is scenic road. It's not going down, but part 4 is farm entertainments.
Yep.
Oh, and this is just lumped under there?
We don't have it in here anywhere yet because
We
we're
need to do a
creating it.
section 5.
So I'm saying
Got
we're
it.
going to have part 5 stormwater regulations. So my vote is to accept the new regulations, and I have it part 5 stormwater management. I just want to make sure that we'll be editing this main page as well.
I mean, I can just put that into the Word document so it says part 5. And then is it like Article 1, rules and regulations? Sorry, I'm having a hard time looking at my screen and your shared screen. So, how they all have article number as well. So it should be like part 5, stormwater, Article 1, rules and regulations, something like that.
Yeah, I wonder if I have to redo all those things and say, instead of purpose, we'll say Article 1 is purpose, Article 2 is authority.
You can just do rules and regulations and then let it fall under that. Because like the way.
Yeah.
So part 5, stormwater management rules and regulations. Article 1. Rules and regulations. Oh, does it? Hold on. Stormwater. Scenic roads, stormwater management, and then Article 1, rules and regulations. Okay, so let me share what I did on this document, which I think might cover us.
Okay.
Is it as easy as that, or am I oversimplifying it? So I'm comparing it to, right, part 3, scenic roads, Article 1, rules and regulations.
That would be great for me.
Number 5.
What's Article 2?
Well, there isn't one on scenic roads, whereas subdivision rules and regulations then has many article subheadings. But I'm copying the scenic roads template to make our lives easier.
Right, because then they just go, they go purpose.
Yeah.
Definitions. And we'll just have it as 380, 5.1, 5.2, 5.
Yep.
Right. I think that sounds good to follow that format.
Okay. And all that little numbering and formatting stuff, we don't.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'd say the motion would be to accept the new regulations 380 part 5 stormwater management.
Article 1.
Article 1.
And the stormwater application form.
I got it. Let me do it.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion To vote to accept the new regulations 380 Part 5 Stormwater Management Article 1, as well as the application for the stormwater management and land distribution permit. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Jim Guarino,
Aye.
Rob Wolf,
Aye.
Brett Piercy.
Aye.
I think I said Jim, right? Steph Harrison.
Aye.
And I, Frank Hookham, and I as well. All right, we did it. So now I make a motion that we end the public hearing on 380 Part 5 Stormwater Management section.
Close the hearing. Second.
So a second. So the move is seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor, Steph Harrison,
Aye.
Jim Greeno,
Aye.
Brett Piercy,
Aye.
Rob Wolf,
Aye.
I, Frank Hookham, and I as well. So a public hearing on stormwater management is closed. So we've also, so we've done the 2 hearings. We've completed the A&R for 65 Farm. We've had the discussion and approved the Milbourne Farm parking. The next items, which are not for votes, is for discussion, are ADU updates, miscellaneous items for the from the 2025 annual town meeting, and the sign bylaws. I suggest we move those topics to next meeting, September 5th, 2nd, sorry, September 2nd.
Heidi,
Frank, can we just put up the timeline that I had made, maybe, so we can see where we are and where we're going?
Certainly.
Sure. Yeah. But related to this, is that meant to be a full list of warrant articles?
No,
Heidi?
no,
This
no.
is in 2025, so this would be just a discussion of what we did last time.
Right,
That's
these were things that were left over from last year. That we said, like, we said ADU was round 1 update because we want to look at the wait till the regulations came out and see what happened. Then we had a few other items left over that, like the advisory comments to other people's, and the sign bylaw we put off. So those, I just put those down as those were items from last year we said we were pushing to this town meeting.
I see. So, because there's, I guess my question when we were talking earlier about the leftover comments from annual town meeting is whether those would be their own bylaw now, or whether those would get wrapped up into the consultant review.
That's going to be for discussion.
Okay.
Yep. But I think
would-
we need to have an idea to say, what did we want to consider about some of them? And are there any things that we think we need to move this town meeting? You know, there may be some things or some administrative things that we want to go ahead with, but I think we have to look at it. So I just kind of wanted to get this on everyone's radar, as again, to look at what our timeline is to get to town meeting. That our discussions we'll have now in the next several months, but we need to have everything kind of fleshed out with language, essentially here at the end of January.
Mhm.
Sometime during January, because we will have to have the hearings done as well. And we know last time we got really squished at the end and there were problems with getting too close to advisory boards. So I'm trying to move our timeline up a bit, and it just really means that September and October and November are going to be all of our research. There's only 6 meetings in that time. So that's when we have to kind of decide what we're doing for our warrants.
So you may almost take that the green line and take it away from January. Maybe you can take it away from December.
almost, but we can still fine tune a little bit until we hold the public meetings, like I have our public hearings in January and February. It's just, I think our goal should be to try to have everything, wrapped up in November so that we can circulate it to other people and try to get comments from people back and actually act on them this time ahead of time.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you and suggesting we
Yeah.
don't put it in December and January, because
Yeah.
if you say December, January, it'll stretch to that, and we really don't.
I know, it's like, ugh.
Realistically don't, but anyway.
You should put a line at December and then make it cross-hatched from there on instead of solid.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah, but just to have everyone get an overview of, again, where we're headed and what we're gonna need to do to get there.
So the draft warrant language, I agree that goes into January, because those corrections that you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And really trying to get people's input before our public hearings.
Right.
And getting
Okay.
getting advisory involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And our town moderator, who had great comments, it just, they came in late.
Right. Do we have a list right now of what would at least have as potential warrant articles for 2026?
No, that's what I think the ADU updates was definitely something we were going to look at to see what the regulations that finally came out, and where did you want to go with that?
Right. We have the sign-in bylaw.
The sign bylaw that we had put off last year, saying we wanted to try and relook at it if we want to research some more, and if there's any way that people feel they can come up with some type of.
I think we should just have it on a list, and
Yeah.
we could always fuss it out later. The other
Right.
one that I think we should have on our list is farm events.
Yep.
And then there's
And stormwater.
Stormwater, yep. And I don't think we'll have anything in time for battery energy storage systems.
That's still in flux with what the state's doing, so that's the concern. I don't think we're gonna get guidance from them in time.
Right, I was
yeah.
researching some of that today, and yeah, there was nothing new.
It's frustrating now. The other thing I think we should do with that-
Mandates, a lot of discussion, a lot of money out there, but no regulations or bylaws.
Yeah. I think one of the things we really should be doing in the next month is looking at our application forms we have one application, it says special permit, and it counts for site plan review and special permit. And I think that's something we need to clean up, try to learn the differences between site plan review, which town council is willing to come and give us a session on. Because that seems to be some confusion of what's our bylaw has mixed up some things with permitting and site plan review. And by only having one application, it is not clear when someone is coming in to just do a site plan review, or if they're coming in to get a special permit.
Sounds good.
if town council has offered that, I would definitely like to be hear that discussion.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so-
Yeah.
Then great, what I will do is reach out to them and see if they want to come to do it in a planning board meeting, or if we want to, I don't know if we can do one without having it be a public meeting.
Either way, whatever works,
Yeah. So
whatever
I'll
makes
look
sense.
I'll find out if it is, if we attend an education session, if that's something if we're not,
Yeah,
Going to be
we're not
deliberating?
deliberating, so yeah. I don't
Right.
think so.
right?
It's just like if we were to go to a conference.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will try and work on that in the next few weeks. I don't really have any other town planner report. I don't know if there were any other board and entities.
I don't have anything.
Not here.
So our next meeting is September the 2nd, and then the one after that will be 2 weeks later on the 16th. So I think that's pretty well set in stone. The October 7th again is that first Tuesday, October 21, 14 days later. The second Tuesday or third Tuesday in October. The big question is in person or Zoom. Shall we go back to in person for the first meeting of the month and Zoom or hybrid for the second meeting of the month?
I think so.
What's on the agenda for the second?
It's going to be the discussion of warrant articles. And A&R, we continued the A&R forms.
That might be better suited for Zoom.
Oh, all the wordsmithing.
Yeah.
Well, should we do it the other way around then? We'll do the first one, September the 2nd as a Zoom and the 16th as an in-person. I'd like to see you guys' faces.
Yeah, I agree.
All
Like to meet the new members as well.
right. By that time, Jane, hopefully you'll be sworn in.
I think she's got some conflicts for September. That was going to be her one thing, is that September was a month where the meetings were going to be tough. So we might not get her on board till October.
You know, it's a lot of this bylaw editing. We didn't meet for months when we were going through that in person. And I guess like you said, it depends what's on the agenda.
Yeah. Well, for now, we can plan on the second in Zoom and the 16th in person.
And we
Right.
could always change that on the 2nd if the agenda warrants it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, shall we make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Steph Harrison,
Aye.
Rob Wolf,
Aye.
Brett Piercy,
Aye.
Jim Guarino,
Aye.
and I, Frank Cookham, is aye as well. Well, that was a very intense, very productive, very powerful meeting. Thank you.
So I should be prepared next time to really go over both of those A&R documents, and I'll go back and review the changes again.
Oh, I'll copy you on my email that I'm sending with the revised documents. I was only sending it to Heidi and Frank, but I'll put you on it, Jim, just so you have what we talked about in the meeting.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Have a wonderful evening.